So first and foremost, I'd like to apologize for the delay in the reflection for this particular module, which is mainly about managing the environment, which is absolutely difficult, even for experienced classroom teachers like myself. Sort of like knowing what's important and why it's important behind student behavior, and just trying to build those positive relationships within the classroom, classroom's climate and its culture, using all the tools and techniques, and partnering with other professionals and peers, and using the other resources through research and best practices that are crafted so that we can create the most ideal classroom culture. And one of the first things that we talked about was norms and procedures. Norms and procedures are you know, are absolutely the most essential thing that a school has to be on board on board with. What I mean by that is that everyone has to buy in to what the norms and procedures will be for the school, because this is going to set the tone for the culture, meaning what we're going to do that is positive and that establishes our and this in turn will actually establish our culture, meaning what do we feel like as an environment, or do we more or less have our behavior management and classroom management act together. Um, transitions. Transitions, again, this actually just circles back around to our norms and procedures. And this actually answers the question as to how do we move from one activity to the next, whether or not it's in the classroom, whether or not it's outside of the classroom, or even within a common space like a dining hall or auditorium, or things of this nature. One of the other essential things essential components that we spoke about was setting high expectations. What I've done in my classroom already in preparing for my clinicals is designing my classroom around a growth mindset, teaching my students that it is important. It is extremely important that you know how your mind grows and what's going to be required of you as a scholar and as a young adult and an adult, and what's going to make you successful. And setting high expectations happens to be one of those things that's extremely important. I found extremely useful was in the how to teach like a champion, which is no opt out. In the With the scholars that I actually work with, they have been labeled as emotionally disturbed and with multiple learning disabilities, and they have developed over a period of time a very low self-esteem and have more or less given up on themselves. So learning the techniques, best practices for preventing children from opting out, this is extremely helpful in developing my classroom climate and culture. Um, Communicating with parents, this again, communicating with parents and having those wraparound services from the classroom to home and then back to the classroom again. This was extremely important again because the same things that you want to the same things that you want to expose your scholars to in the classroom, you want them exposed to that at home. So you want to be able to communicate not only what your norms are, your transitions, and your high expectations, but you also want to express to your parents how you communicate that. And how we communicate that, with the economy of vocabulary, limiting our speech. We also want to make sure that we are using our speech in the most effective way, which is through movement, voice, and participation. This is actually one of the another best practice that is actually talked about in Teach Like a Champion. So we want to make sure that we all have the same language with our students and that they hear it over and over again, and that they are receiving it in a way that it becomes routine. This is extremely important. And also in that, besides that, we also want to make sure that our what to do directions are specifically a mirror of our economy of language and our MVP communication. So again, with that, this does not become complete unless we have a behavior management system in place. I think that PBIS is huge. It is a monumental tool that is going to guide our approach to behavior management. However, I do not believe that PBIS can work in isolation. So I've actually chosen a behavior management tool to accompany that, which is Class Dojo. So I plan on rolling that out next year and using that within my classroom to ensure that I am keeping a documented flow of records and data that would display my use of classroom norms and procedures within, and also my transitions and my language and communication with my students, so that I can make changes in my directives as I move forward throughout the school year. I realize that the impact of co-planning is absolutely essential, because this is what's going to help to create that school and classroom culture. We all need, as educators within a building, within a school community, we all need to agree upon what are we going to do that is unique, not only to other schools, but also to grade levels, and that is actually age appropriate. We need to be able to collaborate on that, so that when we actually do this as a unit, the impact is so much greater to the scholars within the school community, as opposed to one teacher who happens to have a great deal of knowledge about classroom management and behavior. And when we collaborate as co-planning, we got to be mindful of the techniques that we use. So we have to be completely observant of each other. And this is what I think that at the impact of the video observations has had. It has had an impact in a way so that we become very astute and keen at being observant, and then also how we communicate that to each other. That communication being professional and being specific. And we're praising the things that are going on within the classroom, and not just being arbitrary in our language. So we're totally transparent, and we understand that everything that we're communicating amongst each other is for the better of the school environment. So with that said, that all of this entire module has been great. I've enjoyed working with you, Joey, and everyone within our cohort. I think that we have a wonderful bunch of future teachers, present and future teachers. And I'm actually looking forward to working with you in the next module. All right. So again, thank you and best of luck.